I likely don't need to tell you that the job market is changing, and it's not uncommon to feel a little uncertain about your career right now or wonder what you can do to protect it. You likely have solid experience, you've performed well in the roles that you've had, and maybe even felt that you've built what should be a stable career. Yet suddenly we're thrown into this time, this economy, this job market that feels less secure. And not necessarily because of anything that we've done wrong, but rather because of what's been happening around us. The real question becomes, how do we protect our careers when we can't control the job market around us? Doing our best to protect our career isn't really about making panic moves or constant job hopping. It's about understanding what actually helps to keep career resilience when conditions tighten. The first step is to be clear and shed some light on where career vulnerability actually comes from. Career vulnerability doesn't always come from a lack of skill or maybe effort. In fact, in today's market, specialization is often rewarded. You may have honed very specific expertise that focused on making you a highly sought after individual. But specialization also brings concentration risk. If your skills, experience, your professional story are all tightly aligned to one function, one type of employer, maybe a niche problem that you solve, even a strong work record may not guard you from feeling exposed when priorities shift in your industry or your organization. That doesn't mean that you should dilute your expertise. Specialization really can be to your advantage. The key is framing it strategically. We need to position our specialized skills in a way that shows overlap to adjacent problems or markets, and be ready to not just talk about narrow tasks, but explain how the outcomes that we've produced are transferable. We need to be prepared to do that through our resume, LinkedIn, application, networking, and even our interviewing. In other words, your specialization can be your core strength, but career protection comes from showing its versatility. And on that note, another extremely important point is that you have to stay current and keep your pulse on what the industry demands. One of the most powerful ways to protect your career in an unpredictable market is to regularly keep your eye on the skills and technologies in demand, and then invest in and keep those skills sharp. Even if you're in a specialized field, industries evolve, tools change, processes get updated, new technologies emerge. If your expertise stays static while the market shifts, you risk becoming highly skilled in yesterday's problem rather than tomorrow's solution. You have to scan the job market regularly and check job postings in your field, perhaps even tune into professional forums and see what skills are consistently coming up. Look for patterns over time, not just maybe trendy buzzwords. Then make a deliberate effort to learn those and add those skills to your skill set. Last but not least, be that person who creates leverage in an organization. What do I mean? It's one thing to be visible in a company, and that certainly can be helpful and important. You know what? You show up for meetings, you manage projects, maybe even produce a high volume of work, but you still may be vulnerable, because being visible only helps if the work you're visible for actually creates leverage, meaning it would be costly, maybe possibly risky, or slow things down for the organization to remove, replace, or pause your work. Being busy and visible may not necessarily protect you if the work itself is easily reallocated or not priority anymore. If your responsibilities can be handled by somebody else, automated, outsourced, or maybe even viewed as a nice to have, but not a critical function, it may not translate into job security or career opportunities. However, if you can position yourself in such a way where you influence a revenue-driving client relationship, or maybe a particular system that nobody else understands, or a process that directly impacts growth or costs, you create leverage for yourself. Visibility and leverage can work together to help relieve some of that career vulnerability. If you want more direct help in your job search, you can find out more about my courses and my coaching at careeriq.biz. And if this has been helpful for you, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share the video. And while you're here, drop a comment down below and tell me about your experience. I'd love to hear how things are going for you. Until next time.